Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to Football Inc. It is your daily dose of transfer news, views, and clues from around the globe. I hope you're all happy and healthy doing the things that you love. I'm here with my main man, Johnny H. This way, 3232. Co-host of the show, Johnny. How you doing, mate?
All good, all good. The weather's still holding out. It's hot and sweaty. I could be in the Caribbean if it wasn't for the fact I was in London. So I just pretend I'm in the Caribbean. Long cold drinks, some cider. I've been hitting those Krokenbergs, the Swedish,
Kronenberg.
Krokenberg.
I know the one you mean, yeah.
Yeah, been drinking them. They're very easy to drink. You know, they're like sort of lemonade. And then when you probably had about 3 or 4, then it gets better. Morning, Brian. Afternoon, guys. Afternoon, Jonathan. Afternoon, Brian. Afternoon to everyone in the chat.
We've got some interesting things to talk about today, guys. The transfer market is simmering. It's simmering like the temperature, like the gauge. And the mercury is starting to rise. We've got to talk about free transfers today, because we've still got some news with regards to Thomas Partey. It looks like he's going. Of course, we got the story about Norgard, Tottenham and Arsenal battling it out. That's not going to be a free transfer, but it's to replace probably Jorginho or Thomas Partey, depending how you think of it. If he's going in that direction, Kenny Tete, more news out about his signature. Ola Aina at Nottingham Forest. Don't forget Jonathan David. It's all sizzling there in the Jonathan David. It's weird because it's all gone very quiet, Jonathan David. Johnny and I start talking about it yesterday, and all of a sudden Tottenham are back interested in Jonathan David. Johnny, you can't make it up, and we're not making it up. We've got all of the evidence, all of the links to show you. But guys, before we get into it, just quickly smash the granny out of the like button like you always do. It's super important. It helps the channel find new football fans, not Tottenham fans, football fans that may enjoy it. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already, and let us know where you're from and who you support so we can get to know you as we grow this bad boy. Johnny, let's start with Jonathan David, shall we, mate? What are we thinking?
I mean, listen, look, I just want to get this one to bed so we can stop talking about it. I feel like we've been talking about Jonathan David. I've been talking about Jonathan David for about 18 months. And, you know, it would be great if Spurs could buy him. Some people weren't convinced by him, but he had another good season. The one season wonder tag has finally been removed. I can't understand why people aren't jumping all over this guy. Left foot, right foot, goal machine. The only thing I can think of, and it seems to be the one thing that's rearing its ugly head, the agent. The agent, when I thought was asking for 10 million, and 15 million for David, it now seems to be coming in that he wants 15 million for the fee. Greed. So,
Johnny, explain to me why it is that an agent gets paid a big payday just because his client's out of contract. What more work does he do?
Show business.
I don't get
show business. Listen. Why does an acting agent, get a huge cut of an actor's fee when all he's doing is, ringing up a few people to get him an interview? But after the end of the day, it's the actor's talent that gets the job, and it's the actor's performance in the film which guarantees his next role and his next amount of money that he's going to receive. And same with the music business. I mean, in the music business, it's more cutthroat, I think, than the football business. 2 records, great, you're shit now. Thank you very much. Goodbye. And on to the next. So, look, I think these sort of paydays are few and far between. Hi, Darren. A few and far between. A free transfer for a big player. We're going to get it. Trent obviously got it, but the difference is there. Real Madrid were prepared to pay £10 million just to get him out to play in the World Club Cup. Yeah. Great business if they go on to win it or get to the latter stages and get massive money, fine. But if they went out early, it wouldn't make sense. But on most occasions, they'll get a nice fee, they get a nice bit of money, but they're not going to get the sort of payday that he's demanding. I think 15 million is an absolute piss take, to be honest with you. 8 million. Now, if he's blocking the deal as a player, do you say to him, well, hang on a minute, mate, I want to go to Napoli or AC Milan or Spurs. Why are you blocking my thing? It's taking too much. Well, if you feel like that, why don't you take a pay cut? You know,
well, I think that's. I mean, I'm not an expert on how it works, but I would imagine that it's just, like the club will decide, okay, how much do you need in fees in what particular slice up, and then it goes. I'm sure those things are discussed probably, right? Like between themselves. I'm sure the families get little kickbacks, the mum, the dad, the brother, or whatever. It's a nice house bought. So I'm sure it's just in terms of the club's going to be saying, well, we'll pay you X amount of money, and how you want that divvied up in your tax accounts or whatever is over to you guys. But yeah, and I'm sure if the player's saying, yeah, what we doing here? If you don't like it, I mean, look what happened with Leroy Sané, right? Leroy Sané had a really loyal agent for 10 years, and then just as the contract ran down to 0, he gets dumped, and Pinny Zahavi gets walked in at the last minute to pick up a cheeky little signing on fee. It's outrageous.
Little signing on fee? You are kidding, right?
No, a big signing
you
on
are
fee.
Kidding. Yeah. Pinny doesn't come in for anything tiny. Yeah,
no, 100%.
But look, the thing is, these sort of paydays are few and far between. Look, agents get paid a lot of money. There's a lot of money in football. And look, some are unscrupulous agents, and a lot of them are extremely good. How you doing, Mr. Arsenal? Look, most of them are very good. You've got the CAAs of this world and Stella, Rock Nation. You've got lots of very good agencies. And then you've got maybe some of the small independents who are sort of scrapping around. Not everyone's a bad egg, but I think maybe this is the reason why it's been held up. The other thing I'm hearing is his contract expires July the 1st. So I would say he's going to go to Italy, sure. But I think if you're a Spurs fan and you're looking at, we're not spending any money and we're still looking at doing cheeky little deals, is this not the best cheeky little deal you can do? Even if 25 million. Jed Spence.
Yeah, but listen, mate, in order to bring one in, you have to get rid of one, right? And we know. Well, I know you don't feel the same, but I think that
there's lots of players.
Brother,
Yeah, listen, there's lots of players. There's like we got 10 centre backs. I mean, we got how many wingers?
I think we're down to 9 officially now, with Ajayi going out to Doncaster yesterday, and I think Mikey Moore, apparently, according to reports, is also on the next out the door list on a loan somewhere to the Championship, maybe to West Brom. We'll come back. So yeah, we're down to probably 8, and then we still got to get down to 6 or 5 to be honest, to bring a couple more in. But in the striker world, if you want to bring in a Jonathan David, you have to sort of be able to say, well, how much game time is he going to get with 3 strikers at the club? Is Richarlison going to go? I don't think he wants to go, mate. I think he's digging his heels in like Bugsy Malone when it's time to go home.
Morton Barley. Yeah, Morton Barley, you're quite right. Remember when Harry Kane and his brother had his agent? Disaster. Yeah. I mean, he didn't. He wasn't the greatest PR agent for them. Mikey Moore, just to say, Mikey Moore, everyone's after him. Birmingham with Davis, the old Spurs assistant coach. Mason at West Brom, everyone's after him. Interesting one, just before we go on, because I didn't want to miss Spoon Dangler. Good number, good name. Do you Ben Spoons? Are you an Uri Geller type? I remember the Spoon Dangler. Do you think Zubimendi and Norgard is an upgrade on Partey and Jorginho? Well, I've got to tell you, we've had this conversation, Sean and I, many, many times, and Zubimendi and Mourinho were fantastic at Real Sociedad in that double pivot. And so, yes, I think him and Mourinho are going to be outrageously good. And Norgard, I don't know. I mean, he's very, very clever, Norgard. I would say, what would you say, John? I think Partey is more brawn than brain. But I think Norgard is a very clever player.
I personally think a fully fit Thomas Partey is the one of the best CMs in the best defensive midfielders in the game. I think that's almost an impossible replacement. But it'd be interesting to see how Arteta uses it, because last year Mourinho was played more in a kind of creative role, and sometimes even further up the pitch as a false 9 at times. Yeah. I don't see that particularly staying, but like Norgard for me is a top player, top pro, leadership. He's not, but if he comes in to play in the midfield rotation, then it depends how Arsenal are going to do it. I don't know. Arteta likes to kind of experiment and try to be clever. Sometimes I think he thinks he's too clever for his own good, and that he. I don't know. I don't really see Norgard getting very many minutes. I think that if you're looking at the kind of 4 central midfielders, Jorginho going, Partey going, we'll talk about him in a minute because he's a free transfer that's definitely leaving. So then you've got Marino, Zubimendi, Declan Rice, and Norgard as 4th choice in rotation.
Odegaard.
Well, Odegaard in a creative player, but I'm talking about in the traditional 6 or 8 sort of role. I think that if Norgard's coming in as a 6, I don't see him playing that many minutes, mate. And apparently today, for what it's worth, like Thomas Frank is aware that Arsenal are bidding 11 million euros for the guy, and are thinking, well, we can match that. Now, not to take this topic away from Arsenal, because I think I've answered it right. I think he's 4th choice at Arsenal for me personally, as a 6, as a central midfielder, in a double pivot.
Is Rice moved further forward? You see, that's my point here. Is now with Zubimendi and Mourinho going back and reverting to how they played at Real Sociedad, which I think is exactly what Arteta is going to do. Does that allow Rice to move further forward and have more of an impact in that final third? Because we've seen he can be quite dangerous in that final third. We've seen it when
he's not like a tricky technical 10, is he?
No, but he's a terrier.
Yeah, but I think that we had this conversation before. Like, to me, I see Declan Rice as a prototypical 8 who can play in a 6, who's talented enough to do a bit of everything. He's that good of a player. But like, imagine seeing prime Steven Gerrard in a 10, Johnny. Just that it wouldn't make sense to me, and I don't really see him doing that either. So I think there'll be lots of different experimentations. I think at times you'll see Zubimendi and Declan Rice in the double pivot with Odegaard up the top end. And I think at times, Arsenal are apparently looking to bring in not just obviously a forward, a striker, but someone else to compete or replace with Martinelli. And this is where I start to worry about the conversation we were having before about Eberechi Eze. Under the new structure of the deal, where it's 2020, that brings in other people that might look at someone like Eze and go, well, we could do with a left winger who could also improve on Odegaard. Because Odegaard, for me, when he's on, he's unbelievable. But when he's not, and in big games, he is a ghost, right? They call that, even Arsenal fans call him Ghost-Odegaard. So I would be terrified and absolutely so devastated if Tottenham sleep on Eze and then Arsenal go and get him, because he can play left and he can play in the 10. And then Odegaard's absence isn't quite so hard hitting. And then Arsenal have got just an absolutely terrorizing midfield then, where their 4th choice is a guy who's the captain of Brentford. It's really not a bad setup for me, and it's cheap as well, relatively cheap.
Would you take Partey at Spurs, Sean?
I love the caliber of the player. I would absolutely wet myself to get the caliber of the player, but the actual guy himself, I think, would go down like a shit sandwich. So I'd say absolutely not. But
I think they'd probably vote more for you know who.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. It's nothing to do with any of that, Sam. It's just like he's an Arsenal player, right? So like, it would never happen. It never happened in a million years. Look. So for me, I think if Arsenal get Norgard, I think it's logical. But I don't think that I honestly think that Arsenal, like Tottenham hat off here, Johnny.
Yeah.
If Arsenal and Tottenham are going after a player like Norgard, both teams are playing in the Champions League. Let's say both bids are accepted for 11 million. Let's say both wages are exactly the same. If you're Norgard, do you choose to go and play 15% of minutes at Arsenal, or do you rather come and play for your manager that you love, where you're probably going to come in and be starting 6? Let's be entirely honest. He's better than Bissouma.
Can I just say here, I don't think Norgard, having watched him, he doesn't have great legs. Not great legs as in long and shapely. I can't see him playing 2 games a week, Sean. I just can't.
No, and I'd be devastated if he was like the monster 6 that we went for in a big way. But in terms of like just going after like another player that comes in and gives you a bit more solidity, like you move Bissouma on, you bring in a Norgard. I think Norgard is a better player than Bissouma, more consistent. But then Tottenham should still be looking for someone bigger and better.
Douglas Luiz, right? If you give me, I know he's worked with him, but I would take Douglas Luiz all day long over Norgard and Party Animal and the rest at the moment. For me, just like Jonathan David's the standout value, right? For me, as a striker, winger, whatever, then for me, Douglas Luiz is the best value standout 6 that's available 100%. In the current market. That's
surprised that Arsenal aren't going for that one, to be honest.
How many more can they take? I mean, they're looking.
To your point, like Norgard versus like 12 million quid, whatever it is, 11 million quid Norgard, 25 million. Yeah, well, Kai Havertz is obviously he's going to be.
No, but he's not a striker, is he? He's only been playing the false nine.
Yeah,
he's only playing the false nine because of what's gone on with the striker crisis.
I don't know. I mean, maybe Kai Havertz will come back in and be more of a creative role, but then I don't really see him like that either. I think your 10 needs to be someone that's like a little bit kind of just lighter on their feet than Kai Havertz is. People that can just drift into space. Like the way that I perceive a 10 these days, mate, is like, like Luka Modric, what he did, like a Danny Olmo, like a, dare I say it, James Maddison, but just a more consistent version of him and a slightly more improved version. Just people that can kind of float in and around. And I think of like the likes of Declan Rice or like a Kai Havertz. I see them more as like just they're not quite as, I don't know, agile is not the right word. I'm not sure what the right word is, but they don't really fit the prototypical 10 that I think that most teams have these days. So, not entirely sure about that one, mate. But in terms of like the Norgard story, I still think just park all of whether you like him or you want Douglas Luiz instead, Johnny. Would you rather have? Oh, sorry. If you're Norgard, do you think that he would pick Arsenal over Tottenham or Tottenham over Arsenal?
It depends. Fergie always used to get rid of players, and people would just say, "What are you doing? Why are you getting rid of Jaap Stam? Why are you getting rid of David Beckham? Why are you getting rid of this player?" Because he believes that it gets to the point where certain players stop listening. Sean, like if you and I, for example, you and I were on a lot of streams. You've heard me say the same shit over and over and over again. That's why I can't wait for someone to sign Douglas Luiz or Jonathan David, because we can stop talking about it. But can you imagine having to listen to me saying the same shit for 5 years? Maybe a fresh perspective becomes good because
I hear that as well.
Stale, but it is a new project. I'm not sure, as good a player as he is. I mean, look, without Norgard, Damsgaard isn't the player that he is, right? So if you had Norgard, would that allow Bergvall, would that allow Maddison to be a better player? There's the question.
Yeah, well, I just wonder whether Bentancur is like. There's obviously issues with his contract. There's issues with his contract, and I just, or there isn't necessarily issues, but I wonder why. Are Tottenham looking to bring in 2 midfielders, and if so, Bissouma's surely on the chopping block. Is Bentancur? I'm not sure. Like he's not signing a new contract yet, and there's been no progression there. So. But every time I say that sort of thing, the next day he signs a new contract. So maybe that's the kind of kiss of life that we need to give it. But for me, I just sit there and think that if Norgard is the 6 that Tottenham end up with, and it's the main signing of the midfield, I think I'd be really, really disappointed with it personally.
Jonathan Stringer, just to say, Amari Hutchinson is one that I've followed for quite a long time. And when they signed him from Chelsea for about 25 million, I thought, what a fantastic deal. And he ran us ragged at White Hart Lane, Amari Hutchinson. He's playing for the under-21s. I really, really, really like him. And talk about a small player that has a big influence. He runs forever. And again, 35 million is a good price. I like my wingers. I don't know about you guys in the chat, but I like my wingers who don't check back every time they get the ball. They're brave. I want them to take players on, draw fouls, win free kicks, commit players, create space, bravery. Yeah. Who else you got there on the free list, Sean? So
the story's out about Kenny Tete, that apparently it's a coin toss between Fulham and Everton, but apparently a third club in the Premier League, I don't know, it's not mentioned who, but a third club have offered him a contract as well, and it's not been released. I say not been released who it is. I doubt it's Tottenham, but it might be Leeds United, it might be Sunderland, it might be a team that's come up. He's a really interesting player, and I think that there's people are like just writing him off because he's getting on a bit and he's Fulham, but I think whoever gets him probably improves, because I would say he's in the top 8 or 9 right backs in the Premier League for me personally. I think he's brilliant.
I think if I was him, the way Dave Moyes is shaping that Everton team, I mean, they were really hard to beat. It was incredible, what the job he did after taking over from Sean Dyche. It was instantaneously, and it wasn't just that initial bounce. That bounce sort of carried on. Johnny wants a new co-host. Very funny. So if I was Kenny Tete, I would definitely be looking at Everton as my destination. I'm not sure what Silva's future is. And then what happens? You sign for Fulham and another manager comes in, he doesn't want you. At least with Moyes, he wants you to be part and parcel of it. I think there's quite a few players, Sean, on the periphery at certain clubs now that, the clubs that have just come up are going to go for, like a Moreno, a Digne, Lucas Digne, those sort of players who are vastly experienced, still very good players, and offer a lot to any team coming up into the Premier League this season. And he's Tete. I mean, how old's Tete now, Sean?
31.
Yeah. When we saw Ashley Young go until 38, Kyle Walker. I mean, does this mean that Kyle Walker maybe isn't going to Everton?
Oh yeah, I think. I mean, I haven't seen that story. Came out a couple of weeks ago, didn't it? And then we spoke about it, but I haven't seen much since, mate. In my roundup, let me see where Kyle Walker's latest news is.
Because Kyle Walker is looking to move on loan, and again, shrewd call if he does go to Everton. He was at AC Milan, didn't really have the greatest time out there. Even with his legs not as good as they used to be.
Would you take Kyle Walker back to Tottenham? Just out of curiosity. Because I'm looking online right now and it's saying that Everton have basically walked away from Kyle Walker. They're moving in the direction of Kenny Tete. Yeah. If they agree with Kenny Tete, they're going to take him. If that's the case, then Walker's not going there. For what it's worth, just real quick, Football Insider have released Football Insider will take that with a pinch of salt, but they're saying that Manchester City are pursuing a Kyle Walker replacement. At the moment, they're looking at Achraf Hakimi, PSG legend. He was linked to Tottenham, wasn't he, a few years ago? What a player he is. Do you think Manchester City might end up trying to bring back Pedro Porro?
You're going to be, if you're going to be prepared to pay £60 million, they ain't going for less. We bought him for 45.
60? I want more than that for my boy, Pedro Porro.
He's big money. Look, for the first time ever, even if we're not spending the big money, we do have a team full of players that we didn't pay fortunes for that are now worth a lot of money. Simple as that. Pedro Passar, 12 million, worth a lot more money. Destiny Udogie, worth a lot more money. Bergvall, a lot more money. You can go through them. Romero, Porro. There's lots. There's probably a couple that aren't. Richarlison, Brian Gill. But on the whole, we've got some good assets there.
Do we know where Thomas Partey's actually going to go? All I can see is that he's leaving. And when I type in his name, Thomas Partey news, transfer news, all I see is Arsenal, who they're trying to replace him with. But I can't find anything to do with his future home. Is that possibly, and I don't want to talk about this because obviously it's all allegations and shit, but is it possibly because there's that stuff in the air?
Listen, where can he party without any repercussions?
I don't know.
Saudi Arabia, yeah? Do what you want out there. Maybe that's the place for him. Who knows?
You do what you want out there? I'm not sure you can, mate. I think you do very little out there.
Well, I don't know. Under lock and key, in the privacy of your own home. I don't know. I don't know. Look, if you stripped out about his alleged behaviour, he's a top defensive midfielder. No doubt about it. When he's on form, he's for your information, good for that type of shit. But then you realise life is a lot of these players aren't as good. Yeah.
Football Manager, that is. I think it's all about.
Oh right. Listen, look, you're going out to. It's not like they're in Dubai. They're going out to Saudi Arabia. There's lots and lots of restrictions. You're going out to these games, and there's like 2,000 people there if you're lucky.
The Club World Cup looks busy compared to Saudi Arabia.
Well, certain games. The South American games are all busy, obviously, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
I think you'll see more fans maybe flying out. For example, Chelsea fans or Man City fans when they get to the latter stages of a tournament, and maybe go for sort of quarter-final, semi-final, final, that sort of thing. So,
do you know? There's a noise here. Liverpool have got a buyback clause in the Jarell Quansah deal. So he's going for 60 million euros, Jarell Quansah.
Hang on, it was 30. Hang on, it was 34 million. What's happened?
It's 60 million now, according to
I don't believe that.
to Fabrizio Romano. 60 million euros, which is about what, 52 million quid, something like that. And in 2 years' time, I guess this is like a Harry Kane buyback deal or whatever, but Jarell Quansah can be bought back by Liverpool in a couple of years' time, according to Fabrizio Romano. So Liverpool might have spent a fortune on Florian Wirtz, mate, but they're seeming to get, and they spent a lot of money on Frimpong, spent a lot of money on Kirkes, but it seems like they're also able to gather and to recoup a lot of that money for some of these players.
That's what I'm saying,
that are being surplus over there right now. But like, it seems like the Liverpool story is just in and of itself incredibly unique versus everybody else in the market that's sitting on their hands going, I don't know what to do. I don't know if I'm overpaying or underpaying because of the setup. There's no sugar daddies in Saudi getting us any money coming in. You know,
sure, that number's got to be wrong. It's 34 million. I'm sure it's 34 million, maybe a 60 million buyback.
I'm just telling you what it says on the thing here, mate.
Maybe they clear it wrong.
All right. Liverpool have got a buyback clause in the Jarell Quansah deal to Leverkusen for 60 million. I'm not sure if that...
Yeah,
maybe that's
buyback.
Buyback is 60 million.
Yeah,
okay.
Buyback.
Right. Gotcha.
So 34 million they've sold him for and 60 million buyback. Yeah. So that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's an interesting story. Interesting story, mate. Where else we got to go? Well, let me have a look around here. Apparently, Manchester United are getting close to a full agreement with Brentford for Bryan Mbeumo. The fee is now in excess of £60 million. That's according to Alex Crook and Ben Jacobs. Thoughts on that one, mate?
As a Spurs fan, gutted for Man United. Watch this space. Bryan Mbeumo, Matheus Cunha, Bruno Fernandes. And on the other side, honestly, if they can get their defence sorted out and a new goalkeeper and get rid of one of Højlund or Xerxes and replace it with quality, I think they're going to be right up there in the top 4 or 5 next season.
Yeah, 100%. Are we doing it? Guys, it's 311 people here, guys. Please smash the like button, smash the subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell. Johnny, what's the next story for us, mate?
The next one is, let me have a quick butchers. Sorry, I was ready. Well, we've done the Arsenal for that. Juventus is still trying to hold talks with Man United over Jadon Sancho. I mean, he's got 1 year left on his contract. They want to loan him because they know they loan him at the end of the year. Jadon Sancho doesn't want to sign a new deal. He knows at the end of next year he can sign another mega deal for free transfer, no transfer fee. United want to get something for him, and Juventus only want to pay a loan. Mexican standoff. I think the only winner here is Jadon Sancho. I mean, it's hard to believe, Sean, that Jadon Sancho is still only 25 years of age. If he concentrated more on his football and the rest of the nonsense and the shenanigans, he's earned an absolute fortune with all his transfers and all his moves. He needs to get his career back on track. But I can't see, if you're a Juventus, who needs to pay 25 million? I mean, it's an indictment of him that Chelsea would rather pay a £5 million fine than sign him for the 25 million.
I don't get it, mate. I just don't think he's that good of a player.
£73 million Man United paid.
Yeah, but that's Man United being donuts, right? United paid 85 million, whatever it was, for Antony. They paid like 50 million for Casemiro, and then gave the guy 350 grand a week. United are just like penny wise and pound foolish all day long. And for me, I think that there's levels to the game. The Premier League is the great leveler. So many players look good in certain leagues. They come to the Premier League, and if you have it, you have it. If you don't, you don't. Now, at 25 million quid, if Juventus really want to play, it's different if he's 21, but at 25, we know this, right? No one seems to want to pay top money for 25-year-olds anymore. Are Juventus buying Jadon Sancho for value, or are they buying him for resale? If they're buying him for resale, fair enough, but there doesn't seem to be any consistency in that logic. For me, and maybe I'm saying this selfishly, but couldn't they come in for a player that actually has done it in the Premier League for the last 10 years and who would be a wonderful seller of shirts for them in a league that is slower, where Sonny can, I'm about to say, I haven't said his name yet, but I just have, where Sonny could go there, sell, 25, 30 million quid's worth of shirts every year, pay for itself immediately, a marquee signing for the Juve, for the for the Serie A, and like it would suit Sonny because the pace of the game over there
it's so slow.
It's so slow, right? So he doesn't need to rely on that pace that he's lost a little half a yard of, but he still would be able to bang the goals in. And then for me, we could then go to Juve selfishly and say, keep your 25 million quid. We'll just take a little man called Dougie Luiz off your hands. And for me, I mean, I don't know whether Yildiz is obviously like he plays off the left hand side, and he's obviously
he's not going nowhere, mate.
No, I'm not saying to sell him. I'm saying that, but like whether Sonny would like, do they need a player to play off the left?
I mean, if you've been watching Yildiz in the World Club Cup, I mean, the goal he's got is like he's absolutely smashing it at the moment. Yeah. Look, I just think that it's all the cards are in Jadon Sancho's book. But does he want to play football, or is he only interested in the cash? And the fact of the matter is, he doesn't need to sign for anybody. He owes Man United absolutely nothing because they told him they want to get rid of him. So he goes on loan. What Juventus are trying to do is nick him for 10, 15 million. Yeah. Get him to sign a contract with a buyout clause. He'll probably put a buyout clause in there and try and sell him and make some money in like a year's time. Remember, he's just 25. He feels like he's been around forever. He's just not doing it. One player that's going nowhere, though, is Alexander Isak. And Newcastle are doing everything they can at the moment, and they're prepared to fight tooth and nail to keep Isak by offering him the biggest deal in the club's history. I mean, his current wage is 150 grand a week. There's rumours that they're going to offer him 300 grand a week. They can afford it. I think for them, it's crucial that that they do that. Will they have to sell some other players to bring him in? I'm not sure, to pay that sort of money. I would have thought Jonathan David would have been a good acquisition for Newcastle as well, funny enough, but it seems not. I think that is, I mean, for a player of that quality, would you do that, Sean? Would you think he's worth that sort of money?
Alex Isak?
It's got to be, isn't he?
What, a club record wage? Yeah,
but the thing is, if he signs a new contract, that will no doubt mean he'll not be able to get out and he'll be stuck there. Well, stuck is not quite the right word, but he could be there, for the next 5 years. So if he has any
they'll probably put a release clause, like the agent would probably put something in.
He'll try to. What sort of release clause would that be?
Probably 250 million or something. Look, I think it's for me, it's like it's an interesting one. Like I sit there and because I think I spoke about this on my video this morning. We spoke about this yesterday. I think that there's a little bit of a reshuffling of the financial world order, if you like, in football at the moment. I think that we spoke about this yesterday. Saudi Arabia is clearly not as desirable right now, whether that's temporary or otherwise because of the war or the proximity to war, who knows? But for sure, there is a trend that Saudi Arabia have intentions to spend money but are not able to. The absence of that money flowing into the European market, in the secondary market into Europe or into the Premier League, is having an impact. I think that the pivot towards youth is going to create some bubbling up, some frothiness around 18, 19, 20-year-olds that doesn't really make any sense if the whole model is the reason we're going to go after them is because we can't get good money or can't get resale value for 24, 20, 26-year-olds. All of that doesn't make any sense. You see what's happening in France. It's not far away in Italy as well with the Juventus, Milan, Inter. There's problems in finance in Italy, problems in Spain. You have players like Jardin Ashwari that are being valued at 40 million euros, who's only played in the Belgium league. Great player, no doubt, but still unproven at that level. To me, there's a lot of frothiness and a lot of weird things that are sort of percolating. And I don't know how long all those things last and when or whether they'll settle themselves down. But if I'm Newcastle United, if someone comes along and bids like 160 million quid for a British transfer record for Alex Isak, I don't think it's beyond the realms to be able to say, listen, I'll be okay doing that. Let me go and have a word with Jonathan David and say, come to us, right? And I'll pay you 40 million quid as a signing fee, and then we'll keep you to our wage structure so you get most of that money in your signing fee. Your agent gets paid as well. Come to Newcastle Champions League. Then with the other 120 million pound that they've got left over, they can go and get themselves a right winger that's tasty. They can go in there and get a couple of centre backs like a Mark Gahey. For me, I think that Alex Isak, whilst he is an absolutely unbelievable talent, I think that sometimes you can get a little bit blinded by the lights. And I think 160 million pound goes a long fucking way, especially in a market where Saudi Arabia are not propping up a lot of European clubs. I think you can go with that money and go and cherry pick a hell of a lot of great players. And I think it might not be the worst idea in the world for Newcastle United to cash in.
I think it's too much. I think 160 is just ridiculous numbers. He's very good, but I think the numbers are mad. But I mean, look, Darwin Núñez, Liverpool are going to raise some more money with Darwin Núñez going, whether it goes to Napoli or goes to somewhere else. Could we see Jonathan David replace Darwin Núñez, considering how mobile he is? I mean, that's not out the realms of possibilities, that's for sure. That's definitely
Napoli seems to be the club that's linked with everybody, aren't they, at the moment?
Then Monaco and Liverpool. Bayer Leverkusen are now shopping, with a big carrier bag full of cash. We shall see. Bournemouth have completed another sale, by the way. Max Aarons has finally signed for Rangers on loan, though, but another one out the door, which is interesting. Delap finally scores for Chelsea.
Mate, there's a massive bit of breaking news right now. Manchester United have just hired Will Carvalho as the men's first team performance chef. The Carvalho leaves Brighton after 2 seasons at the club. This guy, he's going to Manchester United where he's not allowed to use salt. He's not allowed to use pepper because the costs are a little bit prohibitive.
Hang on a minute. Jim Ratcliffe, Mr. Carvalho, let me show you your budget for chefing this month. So what can I cook with this? Beans on toast, mate.
You want salt? Get out. No, we can't afford salt. Can't afford pepper. We got some of that Chinese 5 spice in the cupboard that no one uses. You can put that on everything.
Meanwhile, Spurs have still got Doris from catering. All right. What was I going to say? Oh, we got the news today. Old Gareth from Southgate got his knighthood.
Yeah.
Failure rewarded. Never mind.
So in the last 4 minutes, Romanda's just tweeted, Arsenal and Christian Norgard have reached an agreement on personal terms as the player wants to move. Brentford informed of player's decision as club-to-club talks continue to get deal done over a €10 million opening bid.
Wow.
10 million euros. It's not bad value. But how are Brentford going to recover from this, mate? Like 10 million euros?
Hang on. What does that say? What does that say about Tottenham and Thomas Frank? Our cutting edge reporting. Listen, he turned down Sky Sports Soccer Saturday, Sky Sports Soccer News to come and partner up with me. Don't knock it. Tell me something. What does that say about Thomas Frank? Does that about Norgard? Does that say Thomas Frank wasn't interested? Thomas Frank doesn't have the sway, or Thomas Frank doesn't think he's good enough, or does Thomas Frank have someone else lined up that he thinks is better? Interesting, though, right?
Yeah, I think, that's the dilemma, right? Like, he's going into Arsenal to play. It says that he wants to play Champions League football. I don't know how many minutes he's going to play in the Champions League games. He'll get 10 minutes at the end of games. He's not going to be a starter for Arsenal in the big games. He's not, right? He's a good player that will come in like what Jorginho did, right? He'll come in when there's injuries to players. But if Partey was injured or absent a hell of a lot, so Jorginho got more minutes as a consequence. Zubimendi and Mikel Merino and Declan Rice don't have those same injury frequencies. So to me, I think it's a weird one, to be entirely honest. I don't really see why he's going there. But in order to figure out why Tottenham didn't want him or Tottenham haven't gone for him, if that's the story, then either maybe we did make an inquiry, but he said, no, I want to go and play for Arsenal, which is fair enough. Probably a better draw, probably a higher probability of winning things. But if winning things was your priority in the previous years, then why'd you spend so long at Brentford?
I know where I'm going, though, after this show's finished, Sean. Right?
Where you
go Arsenal TV going into meltdown that where's our striker? Where's him? What have we got? Bloody Christian Norgard, 31-year-old Brentford reject. Now, I mean, they're going mad about Sesko. They're having a meltdown about Sesko's not good enough for them. So they're not going to take well to this. What else do we have?
Another story here. Genoa midfielder Morten Frendrup, another player that's been linked to Tottenham, is being listed as the number one on the shortlist to replace Johnny Cardoso at Real Betis. It's not an easy deal with important price and many clubs keen as Genoa hope to keep Martin Frendrup. Like we spoke about Martin Frendrup on the Spurs talk show, I think it was, Johnny, last week. He's like I don't know how you say it. He's a poor man's or a young man's Polinia, right? He's not a good ball player. He's not a great passer. He's one of these guys that just like does the job of a traditional six, wins the ball back and lays it off. Maybe Betis is that sort of level. I'm not sure, but I would have been massively underwhelmed if he came to Tottenham. I think he's maybe like a Fulham level, like if Fulham were to lose Sander Berge, then I think Martin Frendrup would have been a decent sort of option for that sort of caliber. But to come to a bigger team than that, I'm not sure he's ready for that yet. Thoughts?
I don't think so. I don't think we're ready for that. No, I don't. Tell me something. Spurs Nepal. How much money did we make on Johnny Cardoso? Well, I think someone who wrote the contract didn't do a very good job. Did we not have this discussion, Sean?
Yeah, they fucked up, didn't they?
They messed up. So they got Brian Gill. They got Lo Celso for a packet of crisps, and we got a cut of Cardoso, and Cardoso bypassed the deal that was done. They just announced Will Still's coaching team, right? Do we think Will Still? There's been so many stories about this Will Still and how well he's done abroad and how he's the next big coaching thing. Do we think that he can bring Southampton back up, but have the sense to not do what Martin did and what what's his name did at Burnley, Vincent Kompany, and be adamant to stick to his his playing style, a bit like Ange, and it not work? I think these coaches have got to be adaptable. I mean, he read so many stories about him being destined for the top. It's a good appointment for Southampton. It's probably in line with how they've appointed coaches before, up and coming, exciting young coaches. But I'm not sure how he's going to do in the Championship. Don't know what anyone else in there thinks. Gittins' deal is still up in the air, Sean.
Yeah, I saw him do. I saw Will. Yeah, just quickly on Will Still. I saw Will Still do a Monday Night Football. I think it was a Tottenham game against. Forget who it was against, and he was really impressive. I thought him and Jamie Carragher had like a tete-a-tete against the various tactics that were employed under Ange. I was really, really impressed with him, and he's done a really good job. I think it was at Lille, wasn't he? Was it? Yeah. Lille? Sorry, was it Lille or Lens?
Lille, or I can't remember which.
I think it was Lens he was at.
Lens.
I think he's really, really impressive. Seems like a nice guy. Seems like he definitely knows his football, and I think it's a really good appointment for Southampton. Whether or not he comes back up with Southampton, and then it's interesting that Southampton have made the decision that they're happy to let Ramsdale leave, but only on loan. It shows that they think they're going straight back up and they want him back next season. Reims, was it? Rem, sorry, yeah. Rem, sorry.
Yeah, Sebastian Hoeneß, Stuttgart manager. I thought he might be one of the ones under consideration at Spurs. Very good manager.
Another story from. Sorry. Before I come to that one, what was the question you asked me after that? After Will Still, you pivoted to something else. Jamie Gittins, was it? You said.
Yeah, no, I was just saying Jamie Gittins, that story, he's had other inquiries, but he really, I think, only wants to go to Chelsea.
Yeah.
The thing is with Chelsea right now, again, they're out in the World Club Cup. They're interested in Kolo Muani because Juventus cannot afford the £85 million fee. They want to do a loan, but why would Juventus? Why would PSG want to loan him out when he's worth big bucks, and Chelsea might be ready to pay that money? I can't see them loaning them out. So Chelsea might step in, and if Chelsea step in, will that mean there's no place for Noni Madueke? So he would have to leave. I think there's a lot of merry-go-rounds still to go, and we just need, hopefully on Monday, the merry-go-round starts and the dominoes start falling, because we need some action here. It's we got a bit of a blockage.
Where do you think Noni Madueke will end up?
That's an interesting one. I don't know where. Could he go to Spain? I think he could play in Spain. But money-wise, I think he'd have to stay in the Premier League if he wants to retain the sort of money that he's probably earned on at Chelsea. They probably signed him.
Rumours were out a couple of days ago, weren't they, that Arsenal were taking a look at him? But
correct.
The amount of money, I think, is how much? So he's 20. It says here on the Metro, it says 23-year-old has also made his England debut. According to the Independent, Arsenal's interest has grown as they have spoken to their London rivals about a deal for the player. And the Blues have named their price, wanting £50 million for the forward, who cost £30 million from PSV Eindhoven in January 2023. How on God's green earth has Noni Madueke's price tag gone up at Chelsea? He's like a step over merchant. He's definitely in the top 4 or 5 guys in the Premier League, at least in the first half of the season, for his takeovers. But his output's not spectacular. He's not someone that bangs in 15 GA.
Yeah, I hear you. He's still 23 and still the age group where everyone's got the hots for at the moment and willing to pay the money for that age group. So, there's also the fact that Spurs looking for a right-sided winger. He'd go down as club trained, right?
Would he? How much? Yeah, you actually spent 3 years at the club between the age of 15 and 21, right? Three full years. Like, you kind of gone out on loan. Did Noni Madueke do that?
I can't remember if he left at 17 or 18. When did he leave? He was at Spurs.
I don't think he would count as a club trainer.
No, I think he left. I think he left before that. So no, that wouldn't work.
So here's a 6 that I want to see Tottenham getting involved with. Right, this guy is like a young Andrea Pirlo type 6, an absolute, he wins the ball back, but his passing array is sensational, and I absolutely love him. Torino, I think he's brilliant. He came through. I'm pretty sure he came through Paratici's Juventus initially, went to Torino, and now AC Milan are moving forward. But 22 million quid plus 3 million. Sorry, not even euro. It's like 18 million quid, mate.
It's a bargain, mate.
Absolute bargain. Absolute bargain. I don't know why Tottenham are not looking at this guy all over the place. He is so good.
Listen, we don't know right now.
And he's with CAA base, by the way.
Yeah, listen, look, we don't know. They've got a lot of involvements in Italy. But look, we don't know right now what all the directors of football are doing. Aston Villa have been extremely quiet, okay? There's lots of clubs right now that haven't done much business. But you can bet your bottom dollar they've all been working their butts off, whether it be data or holding preliminary conversations. Not everyone wants their business, their transfer business, done out in the open in the eyes of the press. So they like to do it dark and dirty. He was 16 when he left, so he left beforehand. I think there's still some surprises to go. As fans, we always demand to know what's going on, but you don't always get to know.
So here's this is from a couple of hours before the Samuel Ricci deal, right? The Samuel Ricci deal, but they obviously Milan are spinning a few plates here. Because Arden Jashwari is exactly the same. He's just a different type. He's a very similar sort of player to Samuel Ricci. And Granit Xhaka.
In the passing, though, Sean, I don't. I think Arden Jashwari, he's not a great tracker back and interceptor, is he? Arden Jashwari is ball carry, passing, creativity. And Granit Xhaka, whilst Granit Xhaka scores goals, I think you take both, wouldn't you?
Well, but AC Milan are only going to pick one of these three, right? In my opinion. Because, I think Samuel Ritchie and Ardon Jashwari are very similar sorts of players. Granit Xhaka's more of a prototypical six that can get forward and banging goals when the play sort of slowly develops. But for me, if Jashari's worth 35, 40 million euros and Samuel Ritchie is worth 25, Ritchie is the better player. He's done it at a higher level, at least. Not the better player necessarily, because you don't know about Jashari at that level. Jashari's stats are insane. I'm a big fan of Jashari. I know you are as well. Samuel Ritchie, for me, there's less of a risk. I think he's done it at Torino, and I think I'd love to see him over. Whichever one AC Milan don't get of those two, we're not going to get Granit Xhaka, forget that one. But I would love it if Tottenham Hotspur were to wait and see which one they picked out of Ritchie and or Jashari, and then Tottenham went and got him. And if you went and got him, then I'd be okay with Tottenham spending 10 million, 11 million pound on a more advanced, like a more older senior head around the pitch in the midfield, for example, like a Norgard, even though he's obviously probably going to go to Arsenal, but there's other players that fit that criteria as well.
I just hope Jashari doesn't, if he doesn't come to Spurs, he does not end up in the Premier League, because it's going to piss me off big time. For those of you who don't know, Sean and I were talking about him when he was like around about 20 million on transfer market. Now suddenly the price has gone up.
I'm not taking the credit on this one, mate. You're the one who brought him to my attention, buddy.
I'm just saying, there are other gems out there. I didn't know about Ardon Jashari till I was highlighted to me by a guy who I speak to, who's from Switzerland, who's involved in Swiss sports TV, that I speak to a lot, and he gave me the heads up on him, and I delved into it, and I couldn't believe what I was watching. There are other gems out there that don't have the name of what, the ones that we know and the ones we anticipate and dream of. So, just like Spurs signed this Tete, right? And everyone's gone, oh my God, underimpressed. But then when I've done a big deep dive on this kid, he's played in the Asian Champions League. He marked out Ronaldo out of a game. His stats, and I've looked back on people earmarking him out like a year ago about an exceptional talent. So, but none of us had heard of him. I didn't watch him when he was 7 years of age in the kids' Japanese football, like some people probably are claiming. But there are players out there that we don't know of today that will be the stars of tomorrow. None of us knew about Lucas Bergvall. None of us. There are so many, players out there who will be discovered and come to the fore in the Premier League this season.
Yeah. Look, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. I see someone in the chat saying, "What about Amadou Onana?" No further noise there, mate. As far as I can tell today, we'll bring that to your attention tomorrow, or as that story develops. I want to just quickly, mate. You mentioned, I think it was a few days ago, we were talking about the pillaging of Bournemouth, and one of those players. Excuse me.
Is he going?
No. I mean, the Zabani deals. We haven't heard any more today, but Rangers have confirmed that Max Aarons has joined from Bournemouth on a season-long loan. Bournemouth really are. Max Aarons, he's right back, isn't he? Is Max Aarons a right back? I think he is, right?
Yeah, right back. I mean, he's a guy that they were talking about. Every club wanted him, and now where is he? 25 years of age. He's going on loan to Glasgow Rangers. I mean.
But this is Bournemouth's entire back four has been taken, mate. Zabane, Kirkes, Huyson, and Max Aarons. That's their entire back four gone. What are Bournemouth? How are Bournemouth going to figure this out, mate? Like right now, it's like everyone's leaving. When are they going to start spending some of this money? Because they got to rebuild their entire defensive line. Don't get me wrong; they're a brilliant team, mate. But like that's a problem, isn't it?
Yeah, all they bought in is the 12 million from the centre-back from Rennes. But they have got a couple of very good, talented players that have been out on loan they're going to bring back. So let's not count them out. Look, they ain't stupid. So, no, we're just saying the Max Aarons, for all the for all the hype, Foxy, Max Aarons, when he was playing at Norwich, you know, how he was really going to be a player, he hasn't kicked on to the levels that were expected of him. Sometimes, as we say, the hype is bigger than the player, and sometimes, you know, people don't expect a player to become a top player and then end up being superb. Who's the cock block that we got?
He's saying Richie, not Richie, like Samuel Richie, not Richarlison.
Yeah, Richie, meanwhile, is still rocking backwards and forwards on his rocking chair with his new baby.
Yeah, 100%. Just looking for any other stories, mate. I mean, look, that whole story about Crystal Palace last night, mate. It's wild, isn't it, mate? I think that the French market is about to be decimated. Do you think that there's any chance that that Woody Johnson is going to come in and buy out the other half of the stake to get a majority ownership, presuming that it all goes through and it's ratified in the fit and proper owners test? Do you think that Woody Johnson might end up putting some more money together at about the same valuation and see if he can take out David Blitzer's stake from Blackstone Capital?
Well, David Blitzer must be having kittens. I mean, Tesla has sold out so cheaply. He's undervalued his shares.
190 million quid for 42%. Gives a roundabout valuation of give or take 400 million quid. Right? How much is that? I think that squad is worth 400 million quid, let alone
Newcastle. How much did he buy Newcastle for? Was it 300 million? What's his name?
Saudi. Yeah, but that was 3 years ago when Newcastle had none of the players they have now. Right? Newcastle have done this. I mean, Saudi have probably trebled their valuation in the last 3 years. But to me, I just think that John Textor has had an absolute mare. Like, he sold that club at a depreciated price point. Surely he did, to get out for two purposes. One, to allow Crystal Palace to get into Europe. Two, to move that money towards Lyon, to give the French authorities the confidence that Lyon are okay financially. And then the French authorities have gone, yeah, thanks for that, but you're still going down to League Two, which was basically ratified in December, and it will probably fail on the appeal. So they're now going to lose their best 2 or 3 players, right? They're going to lose. I mean, the Botafogo player who's Almada, who's on loan there, he'll be sold because Botafogo have already sold their 3 best players to Nottingham Forest. John Textor's having a fucking nightmare. I haven't even looked at Molenbeek, mate. I haven't even looked into Molenbeek, but I'm sure they're having a.
I think the Lyon fans. I wouldn't suggest he goes back there if he wants to come out alive. That's for sure. They're not very happy with him there. Botafogo,
they hate him there. They absolutely hate him.
You can understand why, and because this wasn't the first time they passed the judgment down in November, and he said, "I will get through this. Don't worry. This is going to be an easy thing. I'll squash it," and he hasn't squashed it. And like when you look at the Botafogo thing, 2 fantastic talents that have shone for Palmeiras. Igor Jesus and Cunha, the centre back. Yep. I mean, they scored 3 goals between them. They're into the next round. He sold the pair of them for £30 million to Nottingham Forest. Why didn't he do a deal with Crystal Palace to bring that talent to Crystal Palace? He couldn't give them the heads up as a shareholder for his own club to improve his club. Don't get it at all. And as you said, the Amada, who's on loan at Lyon, will go back to Botafogo, and no doubt someone's going to come in and probably and get there. Talking about Palmeiras, just quickly, but while we digress, Richard Rios, mate, what a player! Someone's going to come in for him. I'd be amazed if he's not.
It'd be amazing if that's Tottenham. Yeah.
I mean, what a player! I mean, if you haven't watched him yet, go and watch him.
Yeah, this guy as well, how do you say it? Jorge Mikatadze or whatever it is. Yeah, the guy, he's another Lyon player who's going to be taken. Mate, it's insane. Yeah, but Richard Rios is is surely going to come to the Premier League at some point. That guy's got one hell of a rocket on him, hasn't he? Like his highlight reel is just like Ronnie Rosenthal stuff back in the day, just banging balls from 30 yards where the ball just dances around the fucking wind and just goes into the top bins every time.
I love the way he plays football. You know, there's certain players you love when they pick up the ball and that, you know, expectation that anything can happen in the next 2 or 3 minutes. You know, Gareth Bale had that, you know. What's he going to do? Is he going to drive? Is he going to hit one? And you know, that's what we love as footballers, looking for that excitement. One thing, Sean, don't forget tonight, guys, 5 o'clock, Lee Carsley's England under-21s, decimated by injuries, withdrawals for the Club World Cup. You know, they didn't think that he was going to have any chance with all the losses. Fantastic 3-1 win against Spain. I don't know if you guys watched it. But they kick off tonight, 5 o'clock, England under-21 against Holland. I'd love to see that because I'd love to see a final between England and France to see Odegaard and Matthias Tell take on England. It's
France against Germany, isn't it?
France, Germany, yes. I think you could be right. Let's have a look. Yes. They're at 8 o'clock. They're afterwards. So I'll be watching the Matthias Tell game tonight. Afterwards, Matthias Tell and Odegaard, they'll both be playing in that one. But I wish England all the luck tonight. Is Rios on Wyscout? Yes, of course he is.
What channel is that on, mate?
Channel 4, I believe.
Channel 4. Oh, okay, perfect.
Channel 4.
Just a quick confirmation today. Kepa to Arsenal. Here we go.
They're in meltdown. Arsenal fans are in meltdown. Yeah, Spurs fans Spurs have been stagnant, yet Arsenal have completed the signing of Kepa and Norgard. That's gonna AFTV, guys. If you've got half an hour before the football, go and watch the meltdown on AFTV. They're going to be going at it tonight.
Just quickly, mate. If AC Milan have signed Luka Modric on a 1-year deal, right, and they're looking to pick up one of Jashari or Samuel Ritchie, for example. I'm trying to get my AC Milan squad list up here. Here we go. Perfect.
While you're doing that, Sean, guys, if you're in the chat and you haven't hit the like button yet, please hit the like button. I'm sorry to keep asking you all the time, but it's just important. Continuity and all that doesn't hurt. Just press that like button. And if you're new to the chat, please hit the subscribe button so you know when we're coming back on, which is every day for an hour. Go on, Shawnee.
Well, I was just going to ask, right? So there's obviously a shitload of movement happening in the Milan squad right now. Like if they're looking to bring in some younger players, they're looking to bring in either Samuel Ritchie or they're trying to bring in Arden Jashwari. They've already brought in, obviously, Luka Modric, who's not young. He's coming in as a creative player in the midfield. I'm just looking at, like, they're going to have to make some... Oh, that's the wrong page. 1 second. They're going to have to make some movements, right? And I'm just looking at we know that Rafael Leao is likely to move. Where's Leao going? Is it Monaco?
Well, now he's another player like Nico Williams, but more so that he's more concerned. Leao seems to be more concerned with doing rap music and recording tracks than he is playing football. You know, when he wants to turn up, sublime, but then he goes AWOL. And but it would be interesting to see because Nico Williams says he'll only move to one club, and that's Barcelona. Not quite sure how they're going to come up with the money.
Was it Barcelona? Was it Barcelona? Was it that we're looking at?
Barcelona for Nico Williams. So.
Not Nico Williams. Sorry, we've heard recently Rafael Leao's going somewhere. I'm trying to think. Let me know in the chat.
Rumors. Look, check it out. But the rumors.
I can't. I thought it was Monaco that he was going to, but maybe I'm mistaken. But I'm just looking at the list here, mate. Like, there's obviously a lot of players that are coming and going. We know that Tomori might be leaving Milan. I think he's turned Tottenham down already.
Yeah, I like.
Santiago Jimenez has just arrived there. I know this guy's a baller. He's going to be fine. But Is Youssef Fofana going to be leaving? It might not be the only Fofana that's leaving their clubs right now. But like, if they're bringing in a new DM or a new CM,
Malik Fofana, yeah,
Malik Fofana from Lyon is 100% going to have to leave. But I'm just wondering what's going to happen to João Felix? Right, he's on loan from Chelsea. What's going to happen to Theo Hernandez? Right, he's turned down Saudi Arabia. Surely there's got to be some attention here on Milan around what it is. And we know Mike Maignan might be leaving as well to go to Chelsea, and they want to look at Vicario. So like there's a lot of these names here we should be keeping an eye on, mate, because
financially, a lot of these players are on loans and they can't really afford. Do you think? Can you see Christian Pulisic coming back to the Premier League?
Well, not to a top club. I don't think he comes to a top club, no. But I mean, he's not a bad player, but I mean, he didn't really light things up at Chelsea, did he? Let's be entirely honest, right? But I just think, look, I've got this filtered by valuation here. So he's supposed to be leaving. Leao's supposed to be leaving. Don't know about him. He's supposed to be leaving. He's just arrived. Is he on a loan or what's he? No, he just moved, didn't he? He moved from Monaco last year, so he's possibly staying. But if they're looking for a new DM, what does that mean for him? He might be leaving. This guy's been touted to leave forever. This guy's on loan anyway. And then after that, you're down to like sort of the everything reel. He's just signed a new contract, I believe, because he was out, wasn't he? Oh, no, sorry. He's just joined them from Leipzig, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, Salzburg it was, sorry. Salzburg.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, mate. I just think maybe Ruben Loftus-Cheek is out the door. There's got to be something happening to make room for these players at Milan, but we're not hearing about it yet.
Well, I think they all need money. You know, Italy's struggling. I'm sure that Inter Milan story that we brought to everyone's attention a couple of weeks ago, that's gone very quiet just now. The £300 million worth of fake sponsorship from China. I didn't think anything out of China was fake. It's come as a total shock to me. Leao to Bayern. Well, listen, that makes sense in the sense they've lost out on Wirtz, they've got rid of Tel, and they got rid of Sane, and that they need to sign someone. But I'm not sure Leao.
They're looking at Martinelli as well, aren't they?
Yeah, they're looking at Martinelli. Listen, as I said, on his day, Leao's a terrific player, but he just hasn't done it regularly enough for me. Definitely not. I think that's about it, Sean.
Yeah, I think we're done, guys. I think we're done for today's 24-hour roundup of everything the transfer news, views, and clues. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy. You come back again tomorrow. We're here between 3 and 5 o'clock, give or take, every afternoon to give you a roundup. Guys, smash the granny out of the like button if you don't mind. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell. And I'm going to say this. It's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him. But just to say, tell your granny, tell your friends, tell your postman, tell your policeman. It's the best show around for football.
Don't tell the police. We don't like the police.
No. Not for what he goes on in his place. Speak to you later, guys.
See you later, guys.
Bye-bye.